Hello, and thank you for being here today. My name is Amy Moonsong, and I am so excited to have you joining me here today for this presentation that I have created around Leo energy and how to connect with the energy of Leo. I've been studying tarot and the mystical arts for about 15 years now, and over time it has become this very cohesive and coherent practice that I've been able to connect practically to my everyday life. I am a Taurus stellium, so practicality is a big deal for me, but I'm also a huge mystical, spiritual nerd, and I just can't get enough of this kind of stuff. But I also need to know how it fits into our practical life, how we can balance it so that we're able to become very powerful creators using that archetype of the magician and the high priestess that we find in the tarot. So this series is 3 different parts, and the first part is going to focus on specifically the astrology of Leo, giving you a little bit of information about that and helping you to see it as an archetypal energy that exists in your energy field, whether you are a Leo or not. The second video is going to have to do with a more further reaching or broader perspective about the overall natural cycle that Leo is a part of, and how we can understand that symbolically by looking at nature and what's going on in nature during the time that Leo season is happening and the seasons before and after that. And then the third video is going to be my very favorite. It's going to be about the tarot cards that are associated with Leo, which a lot of people don't know that the tarot and astrology are just intrinsically linked. So is the Hermetic wisdom around the elements, so is the tree of life and numerology, and so much amazing wisdom has been woven into this system of tarot. And if you study it esoterically, you get the opportunity to learn about so many of the most powerful esoteric systems that are there to help us understand ourselves better as human beings, as emotional beings, as mental beings, as spiritual beings, and as physical beings, and how we're meant to find a coherence and a balance with all of that that helps us to reach this perfect tension point, if you will, or this tuning in which we're able to really be who we're meant to be and walk our path with grace and with ease. And you know, the process of what that looks like. What does that actually look like to embody your most beautiful, authentic self? And that's what these videos are about. So buckle up and get ready. It's my pleasure to be sharing this information with you today, and let's hop into some Leo season information. No matter what your birth chart looks like, or if you have any planets or points in each zodiac sign, you still possess each sign and have a specific relationship with that sign inside of yourself. You see, the signs themselves identify parts of what makes us who we are as humans, and the different aspects of us that we can learn to work with to bring into balance that helps us achieve equilibrium inside and out. The way that the zodiac wheel is set up helps us to separate and identify these different aspects, and we have about a month out of every year that we get the opportunity to work through each one of them. And that also gives us the opportunity to feel the difference between each one of them as we develop those sensitivities. So let's get into Leo, the fixed element of fire and the embodiment of the energy of the sun. Every fire sign in the zodiac is symbolic of the progression of self-awareness through the development of the ego, your sense of self, and your ability to identify who you are as opposed to who other people are. This is how you know what you want and how to have the strength to explore and achieve those things. Now, no matter how spiritual you think you are, if you don't realize the importance of the ego, which we do tend to very underemphasize in the spiritual community, If you don't realize the importance of the ego, you will discover that it's very difficult to achieve anything or to stand strong in your own ideals or against opposition without a healthy expression of your ego. And this is a lot of what Leo is teaching us. The ego isn't something to fear or to try to destroy. It's actually something to be enjoyed and shared in a balanced way with others. But that takes a certain level of alchemy, as we would say, in the more esoteric circles. It takes a level of integration, of being able to blend the egoic self with the more spiritually aware self. And we'll get into that more when we look at the tarot cards that represent Leo in the third section of this series. Leo's the fifth sign of the zodiac and the second fire sign to show up in the precession of the year. The first being Aries, which is ruled by Mars and has a very different vibe of the fire element than Leo does. Each of these fire signs has a different planetary ruler, which expresses very different aspects of what the fire element is, or the different phases of this egoic willpower development. Leo is ruled by the sun, which is very special and important, as the sun is not a planet but a star, and it's the star on which our entire solar system is positioned, held in place, and rotates in a cyclical fashion. So it puts Leo as a very central character in the story of the zodiac, because the sun is considered to be the planetary body of the self, or the star of the self, the external expression of who you are. Now, Leo is the embodiment of that, so its themes center themselves around self-expression and the sharing of one's passion in life. So anytime that you do have a strong Leo placement, or there's some kind of powerful transit going on in the sign of Leo, this usually gives us an opportunity to notice that these types of themes might be coming up for us. They may be getting strengthened, they may be getting challenged, but the more that we understand about them, the more we understand what our tools are for refining our Leo self. We can see more of this in the symbol of the lion, who's the king of the jungle, the top of the animal food chain in his own domain. The lion symbolizes the confidence and the masculine authority of self-ownership, leadership, playfulness, protection, and even royalty. And I always like to add the disclaimer that when I use the term masculine authority, I'm referring to the fact that each one of us has a masculine and a feminine aspect of ourselves that we have to learn how to bring into balance in order to have a harmonious flow in our own inner consciousness. So Leo helps us to identify, strengthen, and experience the masculine authority, which really helps us to know how to identify and make decisions and take actions that will then lead to what it is that we desire. Finally, Leo is a fixed sign, which means that in terms of the fire element, it's the sign that helps to stabilize the growth process of fire within us. It's also what people who have strong Leo energy tend to be able to stick with things, to choose to work on something and to continue to work on that thing. They have the stamina and the endurance to follow through with what they're doing. They can also have a tendency to stay in places longer than they should, to be a little bit stubborn, and so forth and so on. You got to take the good with the bad when it comes to these fixed signs. Now, but in terms of creating some reference point for saying that Leo is a fixed sign, I wanted to add in that each element has 3 zodiac signs that correspond to it. A cardinal sign, a fixed sign, and a mutable sign. You can see that represented here in the wheel if you look at it. In terms of the fire element, you can think of this like you would if you wanted to start a fire. You have to have the match that first lights the spark, or some way to spark the fire. In this case, that would be Aries, which is the cardinal sign of the fire element. It's the initiator, right? But without something substantial to burn, the fire isn't going to last long. So Leo, as the fixed fire sign, is like the stack of wood that you light with the match of Aries that keeps the fire burning. Furthermore, Sagittarius, the third fire sign, which is the mutable sign, would be like the coals that the wood burns down into that allows you to cook, to alchemize, and to forge new ways of being and to learn from, because the mutable signs are about transition. They're about adaptation and evolution. So this gives us a nice overview of the key elements of Leo that we want to understand moving forward. So now we're going to take a look at just Leo as an energy, Leo as an essence, and what parts of us is Leo developing and how is Leo developing them. We have some key terms here that we can use to really get the associations of what part of us Leo represents. And the more we're able to understand this, the more we can more easily identify how to know when we're struggling with one of these aspects, or when we need to put focus on them in meditation or just in the presence of our everyday life to help us achieve whatever it is that we're working on in life. You can literally call on this energy and work with this energy and bring it out from inside of you when you're having a difficult time, when you need to be able to express yourself and so forth. So being that self-awareness is the first key term, and we've already mentioned this in its relationship to the sun, the one thing I want to add is that the process of self-awareness can be really intense and sometimes very delicate. The ego tends to be quite fragile if it's not reinforced with self-acceptance. And in the world that we live in, we get so many mixed messages about that. A lot of us are struggling with very fragile egos. It can be difficult to take off the masks that have helped us survive in whatever way, and to truly acknowledge, like, this is me, even if the parts of you, if there's parts of you that you're not happy with, or you think that others aren't going to be happy with. So having the reinforcement of spiritual wisdom that connects you to compassion and confidence in the process of self-discovery really helps balance this out. It helps you to have a sense of self-acceptance and patience with the process of self-identification, even if it means having to overcome the fear of what other people might think of you or what you think of you. So Leo can teach us about where we're comfortable with self-awareness or where we struggle and feel we have to put on the mask to be loved or admired. And Leo really, really loves to be loved and admired. So one of the more shadow or unconscious immature aspects of Leo can be that it does put on the mask, that it is the actor that is taking on a different expression than what it actually is, because it's seeking love and acceptance over the true self-expression. And a lot of times Leo doesn't even know that it's doing it. This can be a unconscious thing that we do, where we pretend to be other than what we are because we've been doing it for a very long time. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. The connection to self-awareness and passion, which is our next key term, is that if we're not able to fully know ourselves and honor who we are and what makes us tick, then it can be difficult to acknowledge and validate what we truly feel passionate about, right? Which is usually kind of like how we pick up on our soul's purpose in life and our path. And Leo asks us not to hide it, but to get up on stage and live it fully. We all know what it feels like to be impassioned, and often our first experience of that is by watching someone else who is inspiring us with their passion. And that's so much 100% Leo as well. Leo is our passion felt, expressed, and shared in such a way that we inspire others to know that they too can shine their light. And if the egos involved in this are balanced and connected to truth and self-acceptance, then there's always going to be enough room for everyone to shine, right? And if we can allow ourselves to be passionate, then the result is that we get really creative about how we want to express our passion. So poetry, music, acting, art, any kind of passion and artistic expression need Leo energy to come out and be expressed fully. Whatever it is that you use to express your passion is your capacity to be creative. And this is so much fun if we can do it in the spirit of playfulness and enjoyment. And again, this is what Leo loves. Leo asks us to be playful, to be creative, which is why it's also associated with romance and children. And it's interesting, I'm having this thought right now that I think that a really good gauge for a lot of us, whether or not we really can be comfortable with this, if we know how to be playful, has a lot to do with dancing. Whenever you want to dance, can you dance alone and not feel self-conscious? Can you dance in front of other people and not feel self-conscious, right? Are you able to express yourself and enjoy yourself and really have fun without having to look over your shoulder and wonder who's watching you and what they're thinking? So when we have these elements in practice, it builds the confidence and courage to show up and share, even when we're not always received as we would like to be. It takes courage to get up on stage in whatever way you express yourself in a world where not everyone else is as comfortable with self-expression and can result to criticizing to make themselves feel better. And every time I use the word stage, I'm using this figuratively of like you getting up and being you, right? Getting up on the stage of life and being you. Allowing yourself to fully embody the role of who you've come to be. So Leo's the part of us that knows how to do it anyway, knowing that we're doing it for ourselves and for the people who will receive it and be inspired, and that we have the strength and the courage to do it despite those of us, despite the people who might be booing us, or who don't know how to appreciate what it is that we're bringing to the table. So this courage gives us the strength, and that strength gives us the endurance to shine bright and share our light, even when we're faced with opposition and challenges. And as much as Leo prefers to be the playful, snuggly lover, he can be a fighter who has sharp claws and teeth, and he knows how to defend who he is and those that he wants to protect. He knows how to take a hit and get back up, and he'll teach us to do the same when we keep these things in mind and heart. I do want to, however, add the disclaimer that it's not the same kind of warring spirit as Aries has. Aries is also the fighter and the warrior. Leo is a fighter, and Leo can be a warrior, but Leo tends to have a much more tender heart. So if Leo does get knocked down, it can take Leo longer to get back up, but he will get back up when drawing on that sense of knowing who he is, knowing that it's worth it, and knowing that he has the strength, right? So there's more sensitivity with Leo energy. And that's also too where we can get some of the over dramatic energy that Leo can bring in sometimes, because there's such a sense of feeling things so deeply and taking things very seriously, although it's a playful kind of seriousness, right? Depending on, the circumstance. So just to kind of bring this home, we have in Leo, as a fixed sign, the will and the courage to stand for your light. This fixed energy allows us to continue to stand and hold our ground for who we are and how it is that we want to show up in the world. That gives us the stabilizing of our self-esteem and the sharing of self-expression. Self-esteem is extremely important when it comes to being able to accomplish what we want in the world. Self-esteem is also very important when it comes to your intuitive skills and being able to trust your spiritual process, because so much of it has to do with being able to trust yourself. And without that sense of self-esteem that can stand up against the waves of other people's thoughts, feelings, belief systems, and all of that, we tend to have a weakness in that area that makes it difficult for us to be able to keep track of what's us and what's other people, what we want, what other people want, and so on and so forth. So this has a lot to do with solar plexus energy and how you maintain a sense of self in the midst of interacting with others. And this is where we get this energy, this fully embodied Leo, and you go into just about any Zodiac book and it's going to say Leo's the life of the party, Leo's the leader, and he's the one on center stage. Now, a lot of you may really not identify with that and really say, that's really not me, that's not me at all, I don't connect to this Leo energy. But I have this analogy that has come to me as I'm doing this that I think is really, really great, because no matter who you are, there is an area in your life where you are the life of the party, where you are the leader, and where you are the one on center stage. This may be something that you do all by yourself, but it is whatever lights you up. It might not be something that you're willing to show other people. And one of the great analogies I've had is if you've watched the show Stranger Things, I like to think about the character Eddie, who was an outcast and just seen as a freak and a nerd at school, but when he would get together with all of his other buddies and they would play Dungeons and Dragons in the basement, you know, he embodied this powerful warrior, although he couldn't be that in his external world at first in the story. He had his realm where he was these things. And so this stands to offer perspective to you to say, one way to connect with all this is to say, like, where are you that in your life? Or where do you want to be that in your life? Where do you feel that way, even if you're not able to express it? And this is a place that you can start to build on this awareness of yourself. Whew. All right. Well, that was a lot of information. Thank you for sticking around for all of that. I hope you give yourself some time to digest it and let it sink in. Just like when you water a plant that's dry, it needs some time to get the water into the roots. So give yourself some time to digest this. Don't just hop over to the next video if it's done when you're watching this, because it's not done right now. Give yourself some time, maybe a week, to just really let this sink in. Think about how this energy applies to you. How does it apply to people that you know? And how can you continue to raise your awareness around your own personal fire in terms of Leo energy? And yeah, please like this video, please subscribe to my channel. I'm very, very excited to be sharing this information with the world, and I hope to be doing it a whole lot more. So please let me know if you enjoyed this. Please give me your feedback, your comments. I'm open to constructive criticism because I really very much care about being an educator that people can respond to, that they can resonate with, and that they can really learn from. I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you so much, and we'll see you later.